Hey, Mike. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Brad. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Nice to meet you too. Hey, Mike.
My headset doesn't seem to want to work. Can folks hear me?
Yep.
There, cool. Yeah, I don't know why my headphones weren't working.
Does anyone know where the document for this meeting is? If there's one. This is not on the calendar. Right?
Oh, did they forget to include it in there? Yeah, there's definitely one here.
Yeah, I don't see it on the
It's
calendar.
in the title of
It's in
the
the title, really?
of the Slack chat.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
use
the Slack chat. Okay, it's not in the calendar invite. Okay.
Yeah. Not sure why it's not on the calendar invite. I know that the calendar invite got deleted off the also inadvertently got deleted off the thing here. Let me
Sorry, what's the Slack chat called? Is there a separate channel for salsa tooling? I'm guessing there is.
Yep. Salsa-tooling.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, great.
Also, I'm not sure why all of a sudden I don't have access to the doc that I created.
I have a request edit access also. I can't change anything. Not sure
Yeah,
what's
same
happening.
thing here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's weird because I'm pretty sure I'm the one who created the doc. Could be wrong. Let me go and is there a way to see who's the owner of a document?
That's a good question. Let's see. I can't see it.
I mean, worst comes to worst, I'll just copy and paste into a new doc and we'll just start using that one.
Yeah, if we could, someone could update the CNCF calendar invite, that would also be great.
Yeah. I emailed the OpenSSF folks to fix the invite, but I guess they didn't. I'll email them again. Copy. And give me 1 second. Sure. Editor. All right, so I'm going to share it in chat here, and then I'm also going to update the OpenSSF thing, and I'm going to change. All right, for folks who are on, so as I posted in chat here, feel free to add your name into the attendance, and as well as anything all right. There. 1 second. I'm not sure if anybody has any, because I know it's been a few weeks, so I know some folks probably forgot that the meeting's still on, but we'll try and get folks back on in the coming weeks because we're trying to drive towards 1.0. So yeah, we can get started. Just as a reminder, this meeting's being recorded. It'll be uploaded to YouTube shortly after, and your participation in this meeting is an agreement to abide by the OpenSSF Code of Conduct. Oh, it looks like Ian's joining. Hi, Ian. Feel free to add your hey, whoops, I copied the wrong thing. Feel free to add your thing into the meeting notes. Okay. So anyway, the main agenda piece, other than anything else that folks want to bring up and folks want to kind of include in what we're doing. One of the things, just as an update, so the plan is, we're already sort of, I would say, like 4 to 5 months late on 1.0 for SLSA, but the idea is to get SLSA out by the end of February. To SLSA 1.0 at the end of February, with the idea, like, I think now that there's a lot more eyes on it, a lot more eyes on SLSA, it's a little bit harder to make some of the changes because there's obviously a lot of community feedback and those sorts of things. And we are trying to also build out a bit of a process where we're trying to say, let's say stuff like clarifications don't necessarily need to be 100% done in order to have another release. So we can say, you know, hey, if there's a little bit of confusion about what something is meant, that's okay, as long as like it is clear that like it doesn't materially change, you know, some sort of meaning, right? It's like talking about, you know, like as an example, is the exact thing here, you know, when we say hash, are we talking about which hash algorithms or whatever? It's like, look, that's going to get updated or whatever, but this is what it means. And this is, you know, anyway, that's kind of where we're pushing on a lot of the 1.0 stuff. We're hoping to get that out in Feb. As part of that, we're going to want to, as part of the SLSA tooling meeting, the thing that we're going to want to do is make sure that we're prepared for all the 1.0 changes. So there's going to be a new spec. It's a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit nicer because it also splits up reproducible metadata, as in like stuff that is, you know, the source and those sorts of things are put into one section, as well as sort of more non-reproducible metadata, stuff like timestamps and those things are going into a separate like metadata section of the SLSA provenance spec, with the intent there of saying like, hey, if you just want to check if two metadata, you know, if two things are the same and you want to just look at those pieces, you could just look at that sub object in the JSON, which you know, simplifies a lot of stuff, as opposed to saying, oh, I need to compare all of these fields. Now you could just sort of say, I can just compare this one field with this other field and it should be fine. And once again, that's assuming canonical JSON or some sort of canonicalization scheme there. Cool. So that's kind of the only stuff I think where that's sort of really changed. I know that I believe not next week, but the week after, I think, is supposed to be the next like full-blown SLSA meeting, with the monthly SLSA meeting, where we're going to be talking about that a little bit more. Parth, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I had a question. Was there like evidence field going to be added? I know there were some talks about that, like adding an evidence, like, hey, you know, for some of the things, like if it's hermetic or something, right? It provided some kind of evidence. Is that true, or is that being added or not?
Yeah. So let me look. Like we could actually look at the spec right now. What's proposed there? I believe the idea was to allow for it. The thing that folks were talking about was whether or not some of the existing fields can just be used for that information, and you could just sort of, you know, point folks to that. Let me go and take a look. Oh boy, it's one of those big PRs, which makes GitHub go really slow. All right, so this is that, and let me go and we can kind of let me share my screen in a second here.
So sorry, Michael, just to clarify, you need PR 525 to be reviewed by the committee, no?
Oh, it already is being, yeah.
Because I see that it's still in draft.
Yeah, no, it's still in draft, but most of us on, you know, most of us have been having chats in the Slack, as well as in some of the other ones, because there's the SLSA specification meeting, which happens on Monday, which is where a lot of this is, a lot of that discussion is happening, and it's a combination of folks between, you know, who are part of the committee and not.
Mm-hmm. Cool, thanks.
Cool.
I somehow missed this, so I'll make it a point to review this too.
And so right now they're using Q a bit to sort of do some of the some of this, but even I believe from what Mark was saying is he didn't want it to be, let's say, this idea here was not supposed to be fully fledged, like, hey, the idea right now is to be more like just syntactic sugar around a JSON spec. This is not intended to be like you wouldn't, at least at the state it is right now, this is more intended as documentation than to be used as a like a schema validator, right? Because there's certain things in here like the timestamp where, you know, you could use a regular expression, or there's some hooks in Q that are coming that allow you to sort of validate against the timestamp. He's just saying string, as well as, like, you know, some of these things here is like, hey, we're just sort of saying SHA-256 string, SHA-512 string, and so on. Whereas you could have like a regular expression that says, you know, here's what the, you know, so, but just to keep it simple for now, that's kind of what he's doing there. And so there's a bunch of stuff in here. It's been a few weeks since I've been able to read it as well, because I was out of the country for a while. Okay. But yeah, I believe there's the idea here is to have elements in a build definition. There's elements of the run details. There's going to be metadata, which is like the timestamp information, and so on. And so, yeah, let's see, is there anything that, yeah, he also has this document, which he went over in one of the meetings, where the idea here is he's trying to sort of separate out the stuff that is stuff that you don't necessarily control, like the stuff in orange, right? Like you're not, you know, at least when you're sort of looking at it, you're like, yeah, you're not exactly sure what dependencies you might be pulling in if you're not using the right sort of build or whatever. And there's a lot of things there. And these are all sort of external sort of stuff and yada, yada. And then the stuff that's in green. So the stuff that's in orange is mostly like the external pieces. The stuff that's in red, obviously, is the build itself. And then the stuff that's in green is stuff that's supposed to be part of, like, owned by the build platform itself. In this case, you know, the build platform, any sort of parameters they fit into the system, the environment that you're building on, and that sort of thing. Cool. I don't remember if there's like what else there is here.
So it doesn't look like the evidence field made it through. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things as well is, I believe byproducts here is one of those things. I believe that was at least one of the intents here. Let me just make sure. Yeah. So yeah, byproducts is just like what, like these could be any sort of output from a build, and some of those outputs could be even include stuff like evidence.
Okay.
Whether or not we want to split that into its own separate field, I haven't really given it much thought personally. But I know that some folks had been talking about, for example, like, you know, you might have separate SLSA documents for even the evidence themselves, you know, depending on how you want to do it. But yeah, I remember that there was a lot of concern. I don't remember exactly what the concern was about including evidence in the SLSA, where the SLSA here is just trying to more or less just provide the provenance piece, and sort of adding in additional information seemed to be potentially not what you wanted to do, compared to just sort of saying, here is like the byproduct, and the byproduct is, let's say, the logs or whatever, and just saying, go take a look over there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was talks in the intuitive attestations, right? That sky predicate could be something that could provide that kind of evidence or link back to something. So
Yeah. But yeah, I'll have to go back and read some of this stuff. Ugh. Right. Let me and remember that Monday is when the majority of sort of talk about that sort of thing goes into place. I think for this meeting, the main focus is like how for this group are, you know, some of the tools like the GitHub generator, Tecton, and so on will need to be updated to support that 1.0 spec. And, you know, what can we do to get that over the line, as well as, you know, folks who are, you know, there's folks like Frederick from GitHub who is looking at doing some of the stuff for NPM, and like what sorts of things need to get done to get that across the line there. Yeah, and we're hoping to also have Fresca integrated with 1.0, like the, you know, we're one of the first or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. That's all I had for, you know, I guess question is, anybody else have any other sort of agenda items or anything else they wanted to bring up? Okay. Yeah, we could probably end it a little early. I know a lot of folks are still, a few folks don't get back till like a week or two from now. I know, for example, like Brendan's still out in Asia, and a few other folks had said like, yeah, they're still on vacation this week. Cool. So yeah, just as a reminder, you know, I'll probably, like, if folks have questions or whatever about some of the different SLSA tooling things, we can chat about it in the Slack. I believe, you know, there's some talk here about what can we do to make, you know, one of the things we want to do is maybe have some canonical tooling, which is already some of like the SLSA generator and SLSA validator that is under here. Like, what can we do to make that 1.0? Maybe a few things to make it easier to consume and all that good stuff. But yeah, if that's it, everybody, happy Friday, everybody, and have a good weekend.
Yep, you too.
Right.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye everyone.